Knockout of the night. Holy shit. Vitor Belfort. Fight of the night. Which one is that? I gotta pull it out of my pocket. The handwriting is terrible. Akhmedov and Perpetuo. They won fight of the night. And submission of the night was Martins. They won $50,000 each. Congratulations. We're getting all the fighters in here now. Vitor's doing some interviews. Dan Henderson was sent to the hospital, so he won't be here. Who has the first question? Raise your hand, they'll bring you a mic.
AdrianoAlbuquerqueCombate.com. My first question is to Daniel Sarafian. Sarafian, do you feel that you deserve a rematch after this fight?
I
don't have the intention. I think it would be, I don't think it's a time to talk about a rematch. I don't know. I think I have to go back home, see what mistakes I made, what I can improve, and to practice to wait for the next fight. Whoever the UFC puts in front of me, I'm going to do the best. I think what I need to do is to come here and do the best I can to have a fight where I leave here happy with myself, where the crowd is happy with what I did, and where the UFC believes that I can continue being a good employee. Regardless of a win or a defeat, I think winning and losing is part of our lives. So the only thing I want is to always do the best, to give you all a great show. It's not that I come here with the idea of doing a show, I come here with the idea of doing the best, but now the fight is over, I can't say about being a show. I want to be a great employee. I always want people to leave here happy with my performance. That's all I want. And I think I still have a lot to evolve in my career, and I'm going to try to do this. If I see that I have failures that have to be improved, this is what I'm going to do, and then the next fight, I'm going to be here to win.
Boa noite, Lucilene Caetano da
Lucilene
Veja Rio.
Caetano from Veja Rio. First of all, I'd like to ask Dana White, what did you think of UFC here in Goiania? What about the reaction of the crowd? Is it in the schedule to come back here next year? And another question is to Feijão. Feijão, congratulations for your fantastic win. And people are joking now, but Rafael Feijão, when you came in very well, you're going to be called now Rafael Pequi. You're going to have to adopt this nickname now.
Well,
I'm from Cuiabá. For those of you who don't know, I love the sertanejo music, so I didn't only select it because I'm here in Goiânia, but it's because I really like it. Henrique Diego is a person who sang that song, but two singers of sertanejo music who are personal friends, so for me it was a great honor to be here. The energy of the crowd is priceless. I believe the energy of a Brazilian audience, we see it's different to anywhere else in the world. It's a great honor in my opinion.
Yeah, it was amazing here tonight. I agree with them 100%. The crowd was unbelievable. It's so fun when you come to a live fight like this, and the fans are that into the event. And you know, as far as coming back here, it's much like the United States, how we travel all over the country. We'll do the same thing here in Brazil and continue to put on events everywhere.
Rebelo, my question is to Mutante and for Dana. Mutante here, are you frustrated in any way to have been booed in your country, or is that just part of the job? You had to beat a tough fighter as Sarafian. And my question to Dana is, you had already said this week, but could you please confirm that the next challenger is Vitor Belfort for the title bout, because there's not many options now that he's beaten everyone this year? I don't feel bad in having been booed. I think it's actually cool because I think Sarafian and myself, we did a lot of good work in The Ultimate Fighter. People like watching our fights. So he has his crowd, I have my crowd, and that just proves that people actually like us, you know, and that's cool. So I don't really feel bothered about it. And I think very slowly I'm going to get more fans to support me, and that's it. Both him and I.
Yeah, big things for Vitor Belfort. Big things for Vitor Belfort. Big night. He did something nobody's ever done in 39 fights. He stopped Dan Henderson. And Vitor is a completely different fighter than he was when he was younger. He's mentally there. He's physically there. He's more well-rounded than he's ever been. Yeah, I'm blown away by tonight's performance, and we'll see what's next. You know, obviously, some big fights have to happen. You got the Anderson Silva-Chris Weidman rematch. That has to happen. But yeah, Vitor Belfort's next. For, I don't know. I mean, Weidman, Silva, Machida, the whole, you know, there's a lot of big fights out there for Vitor Belfort.
So Dana, just to follow up on that a little bit, I mean, you threw Machida's name in there as well, obviously, so that wouldn't be a title fight. So you can envision a scenario where his next fight wouldn't be a championship fight? Well, I'm
saying that because you never know what happens here. That Weidman-Silva fight happens, somebody gets hurt, and they're sidelined for, you know, you just never know what's going to happen. The 185-pound division is exciting. It's really getting good, and anything could happen. So, but there's nothing but big fights for Vitor. Sure. I mean, imagine if we do Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort again. You could do that in a soccer stadium here.
And for Vitor, I mean, are there other fights that would interest you besides a title fight? And if he comes to you with something other than a championship fight, are you going to be willing to do that?
Cain Velasquez, maybe. John Jones, no. You know, I'm looking forward now for the winner of Anderson Silva and Weidman. So, you know, Dana is the one who's making the call, and I just got to be ready. And I told them I'll be ready, and big things will come when you work hard. I believe, you know, things come. You just got to work and be willing to take the risk and just go for it.
And obviously a lot of people want to see you fight in the United States. Have you started to take any steps towards getting licensure in the United States? And do you want to fight in the United States to kind of address the critics who say, why does he keep fighting down here in Brazil?
It's easy. Chael Sonnen is fighting in Las Vegas. And, you know, we do everything by the book. I'm just going to take my blood right now after here. So everything's good. So we can get a license. No, that's no problem.
The people who want him to fight in the United States talk a lot of shit, don't they? They talk shit, but they want to see Vitor in the United States. You know, Vitor could fight in the United States now. There's no reason why he couldn't fight in Las Vegas, no matter what Keith Kaiser says. He should be allowed to fight in Las Vegas. It's ridiculous. And then as far as the rest of the country goes, Vitor can fight anywhere in the U.S., you know? But he's in Brazil, and you understand why he's in Brazil.
Isabel Guimarães,
MMA Alterosa from Minas Gerais. A question to Dana and one to Vitor. A question for Dana. There's Anderson and Weidman. You already have a crowd. You're probably going to fight the winner. And Dana, I'd like to, you said 13 events scheduled for Brazil next year. And Jaraguá do Sul is already confirmed. What I'd like to know is, does the UFC plan on going back to Minas Gerais, be it in Belo Horizonte or any other city of the state of Minas Gerais?
Was your first question about Anderson
sua primeira
and Vitor?
Pergunta foi sobre o Anderson e Vitor.
I mean, obviously, if
Sim, com certeza.
Anderson's going to fight Chris Weidman December 28th in Las Vegas, and it is going to be the biggest fight we've ever done. That gate is already at like $5.6 million. And the pay-per-view is going to be huge, and it's going to be a massive event, and whoever wins, yes, will fight Vitor Belfort unless something crazy happens and somebody gets hurt. And then as far as going around the country, it's like we do in the United States. We will continue to travel around this country in all these different cities just like we do the U.S.
Pergunta para o Vitor. Você está vindo
numa sequência incrível. You're coming from a fantastic streak. Do you think it would be different to have a new chance for the title bout? And is there anyone that you would prefer to fight against, Anderson or Chris Weidman, when you go for a title bout?
Primeiro,
First of all, as a fighter, we can't have preferences. We have to fight whoever's the champ. That's my purpose. This is something that I have been able to get here with a lot of hard work from my team and myself. And now I just need to wait for the champion and to strict my diet, because this time the cutting weight was much easier. And now I just have to look at the diet that Dan and Lorenzo have already told Joanna that I have to eat less at home. Klaus, Globo Esporte. My question is to Dana. Dana, first of all, regarding the large number of people from Brasilia, I think that a lot of people who got the road from Brasilia drove over here. Doesn't this show that Brasilia would be able to receive a good event? Do you have an idea of holding an event in Brasilia?
That's a great question for a perfect transition. I want to introduce you guys to somebody. So, you know, as we've been traveling all over the country and all over the world, we've been hiring people to come in and run different parts of the world for us. And we always go after the sharpest, the strongest people in all of these countries. And I want to introduce you to the new managing director of UFC Brazil. Her name is Grace Torino. And she has worked with tons of big companies from Tickets for Fun, Ambev, Price Waterhouse. She's a stud. Ladies and gentlemen, Grace Torino. And she's going to answer your question, sir.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Dana. It's a great pleasure to have you here with us. We're really very pleased of being able to have another UFC event here in Brazil. The fans in Goiania were fantastic. Brazil is the birth of, is a nursery of big idols in our sport, and it's a very important market for us in the UFC. Since 2011, we've already held 11 events, and 7 of them only in 2013. Our purpose is to take the UFC closer to our fans. And I'd like to thank you all very much for being here today. And congratulations, everyone.
Did you answer his question?
Someone have any question for me?
Regarding many people from Brasilia coming here, 1/4 of this arena is from Brasilia. Isn't that a good idea that we should go to Brazil? Is that part of the plans? Yes, definitely, that's a good idea. When we do an event in a place, we always receive fans from other locations, from the closer regions, sometimes even from regions which are very far. So we always look into that.
Mais perguntas?
Any more questions?
Obrigada.
Thank you very much.
Marcos da revista Pegada de São Paulo.
Marcos from the Pegada magazine in São Paulo. My question is to Sarafian. Sarafian, you said that you saw many mistakes of yours, some failures. Could you please tell us what you think those failures were? And do you think that the fight today was very different to what it could have been at the finale, which you couldn't fight at that time because you were injured? It's very difficult to talk about that because it could have been different. It was another day, another situation, another time. Everything was different. So definitely it would have been different, yes. But I believe that my strategy for Mutanti was move to the left. I couldn't give him too much space because he's a guy who has a very much bigger reach and he has a very good kicking power. He has many different kicks, so he could actually kick me. So my strategy was to keep close, to go in towards him, to block his kicks and punches, to act, to respond, to move back. And I think it was working out until the moment in which he also decided to go and to try to take me down when I was moving in, and he surprised me in trying to take me down. And takedowns obviously count, so I believe that's what I have to improve. I believe that in reality, I don't even think I have to improve my takedown defense. I think I need to improve my takedown attacks, because if I'm going in, takedowns is part of that. I'm already going towards him, already going in with my hands, so I don't know. I should just try to take him down immediately after that. So I think that's something that I realize, and I'm going to try to improve that for my next fights. And that's it. I think many people thought that after I left the octagon, many people told me that they thought that we would get the best fight of the night. That isn't the case. Bordão's was a better fight than ours, but if I heard this kind of comment, I'm really very pleased that I was able to please the crowd. And that's part of it. Losing, I see people such as Dan Henderson, Vitor Belfort, and Anderson Silva himself. Those are people who had ups and downs in their careers. They've lost, they stood up, came back, and became great champs. And that's what I intend to do with my career. My question is to Dana White. Dana, here please. So this was the first fight of Santiago Ponzinibbio, the Argentine. So I'd like to know, what did you think of this fight? And what are the plans that UFC has for Argentina, bearing in mind that today the ratings were very good when this was broadcast on Open TV?
Yeah, no, he's a tough guy. Very, very, very tough guy. That was a good fight. Both guys have great records, tough, durable. I'm excited to see that kid fight again. I liked it.
My question is to Vitor Igor Rezende from ESPN.com.br. There are 3 fights this year with 3 victories with a kick, which is something that you didn't really use in your career before, and showing us very few failures, nearly no failure. So I'd like to know what changed for you this year, and do you see anyone who can actually beat you currently, because this year you're having a perfect year? First of all, I believe in hard work. I believe in training. I believe in being humble and respectful. And that's what I live. That's what I do in my day with a camp in Brazilians. In Brazilians, we have the best trainers, Henry Hoof in K1, Pedro Dias in boxing, Kenny Mundy in wrestling. We have big jiu-jitsu professors, Jurinho. We have Tyrone Spong, one of the best K1 fighters. So to train with the best of Rashad, so to train with the camp, which really pushes the young people forward, the new people who are coming up. So for me to be able to enhance Muay Thai with Cosme, who's a world champion, who's improving my wrestling and my Muay Thai. So I've got big weapons. And today I feel I'm a kid. I feel I'm just practicing, improving and learning. And I believe that the more willing you are to give yourself, to learn things, that's when good things come. So that's what we need to do, work very hard. And after the fight, drink a nice glass of wine.
Do you think there's anybody out there that can beat you?
My mental game is so strong. When I step into the cage, quando entro ali dentro,
when I go into the cage, I already go in victorious. So for me, it's a big pleasure. I already walk in as a winner. So I don't even think about losing. So my opponent, I already go in believing that I have won with my practicing.
So I guess that means the answer is no. There's nobody out there in the world that can beat me at this weight. I'll beat everybody and be the next champion.
Yes.
Hey, Dana, there was some... Dana, we saw some reports tonight of an incident backstage with Honey Jason, maybe punching a wall after his fight, getting transported to the hospital. Do you have any insight on that and thoughts on it?
He punched a wall and had to be transported to the hospital. That's exactly what happened. He punched his arm through the wall and sliced the back of his arm wide open and had to go, I don't know, stitches or what happened. I don't know how deep it is or how serious it is, but...
What's your take on that? I mean, do you understand it's just an emotional thing, or do you just kind of tell the kid?
Listen, this stuff happens, man. You know, especially young guys, a big loss like that and you know, a devastating loss like that. You know, you do stupid stuff sometimes. You know, I don't think he expected to get you know, slice his arm open and get hurt, but, you know, it happens.
And quickly for Mutanch, if I could, please. There was a kind of an odd stand-up in the second round where it looked like you were working for a submission, and the referee restarted the fight. I'm curious what your thoughts on that, and if you thought maybe you were going to be close on the submission.
I don't know if I was going to be able to get it, but I was going after it. I was trying to get a submission, and I don't really understand why he stood us up. I don't know. I was moving. I was going for it, but I was ready. He could put me up or down or whatever. I was mentally ready to do it. It was a very tough fight. I was going after it all the time. It was very difficult to find a correct timing and position to submit him, but he's a very good jiu-jitsu fighter also.
And then one last thing, Matosh, the crowd was doing a little more than booing. They were, some obscenities your way. I know you said that you don't let it get to you, but, I mean, do you feel like there's a message that needs to be sent to them to maybe not handle you in that manner?
I don't think so. I think over time I'll take more space. I think Sarafian is a great athlete. He's a very dear fighter. He's done a lot of hard work in The Ultimate Fighter, and I did too. And that's it. Fans are half-half. There were two Brazilians, two Brazilians fighting each other. So that's it,
Kamil Tkach for WOW TV. This question is for Dana. How are you? You have recently mentioned about UFC not being mainstream in the States. Do you think that goal is being reached faster in Brazil?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. It's funny. The sport has taken off. It's massive here. It's massive here in Brazil. And I think there's only 175 million people in this country. Is that right? 175 million compared to over 300 million in the United States. And this country, this is where, I was saying this earlier, the 20-year anniversary of the UFC is next week with the St. Pierre fight. And it's a very important week for Brazil. The UFC started in Brazil. Rorion Gracie left Brazil, went to America to prove that his style of fighting was the best. And he gets together with these guys, creates the UFC, and Royce wins the first one. UFC comes from Brazil. It's unbelievably huge in Brazil, and so much incredible talent comes from Brazil. So the UFC is very, very... The first fight happened in America, but this is as much a Brazilian company as it is an American.
And one more question. How big of a role does Ultimate Fighter Brazil play in this creation of the market?
Ultimate Fighter plays a role in every market we're in. It launched the UFC in the United States. It's incredibly successful here at not only showcasing this talent, how talented they are, but you get to see their personality. If you look at what a big fight it was with these two guys here today, everybody in this country knows who these two guys are because of the Ultimate Fighter. It's huge. Is that it? Go ahead.
His microphone's not working.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, brother. Are you kidding me?
Can you please come here?
I'm sorry. The first, what are your plans for Dan Henderson that the contract has finished at this fight? And the second, do you plan to talk to the TV about the time and day of the third TUF in Brazil? Vanderlei Silva has complained today about the TUF in the Sunday at almost midnight. What are your plans for the third edition?
Vanderlei Silva is complaining about the time of TUF Brazil. He doesn't like the time slot. Vanderlei wants the time slot changed. Interesting. What was the other question? Dan Henderson. Yeah. So Dan Henderson was transported to the hospital. I just saw him out back, and he wants to do a new deal. I said we'll talk in a couple weeks. So we'll see what happens.
Minha pergunta para o Thiago Bodão, queria saber
My question is to Thiago Bodão.
Você ficou mais de ano sem
You
lutar.
spent nearly a year without fighting. Do you think that made it difficult in your fight?
Bom, eu acho que não.
I don't really think so. I think, in fact, I spent some time without fighting, but what we have been doing in my camp was very, very good, so I knew I was ready. My sparring was very tough. I knew I wouldn't have any type of pressure in that sense. Apart from that, whenever I go in and the crowd starts shouting and chanting, I'm transformed. I become stronger. I have more confidence. So I knew I was going to walk in ready. I knew I would be ready for anyone. Unfortunately, this was not what happened this time. I wasn't able to get a win, but I was able to play my strategy going up, which is what I like doing. That's what I'm always going to do.
For Vitor, please. Vitor, I'm to your left. Congratulations on the win. Does a win like that have any different meaning or feeling for you since you had faced Dan before and he had beaten you the first time?
For sure. It's a great feeling. It's you know, the times that we train, the things that we do, the sacrifice. You guys don't imagine what we go through, and especially me with 36 years old. You know, and I'm a new man. I reinvented myself. And it's so dedication. It's a lot of dedication to do something like that. And I did something that nobody never did. So, of course, me and my coaches, my team, we are very happy with this performance. And I'm very thankful to with my age, with the capability that I'm doing. So, in that intensity, I'm very happy.
And can you kind of talk us through the finishing sequence there? I mean, you were very patient at the beginning, sort of measuring the distance, and he threw like 3 straight right hands, and you kind of stepped underneath for the uppercut. Can you kind of talk us through what you were seeing and what you were trying to do at that moment?
I just enjoy the fight. You know, for me, it's just like in the gym, training, listen to the strategic that Henry, Kenny, Cosmo, Pedro, everybody, all the coach Durinho, they put a strategy together, and we have a role, and I'm just performing there. And it's just like an actor, so you just got to be there and be willing to give your best and take the risk in the right time.
Vitor, você já lutou em São Paulo?
You've already had a fight in São Paulo, Rio, and Jaraguá do Sul, and now in Goiânia. Could you please tell us a little about these places, the differences you see in each one of them? It's difficult to say that because, as Dana said, Brazil, today I would like to be a little fly, to be able to see what the bars were like, all the homes, all people at home. So we've today transformed Brazil like the UFC has transformed Brazil, not only as soccer has, but I think we are creating new talents, new champions. So I think it's very pleasing for me to be able, after so many years doing this, I'm nearly 20 years in this. So I was really very pleased to see the main news program yesterday. I was very emotional, and I actually crying. You know, I remember when Dana still had hair back then. You know, when the company, he worked very, very hard. Everyone was closing the doors to him. No one believed in him. And he'd come and sit to talk to the fighters. Come on, sign this contract. Believe us, please. And he invested a lot and believed in this. And he's taking it to all over the world, every 4 corners of the world. So in my country, to be able to see these fighters who are just starting and having the sport today, which has a much better base than when I did. Because when I started, there was nothing. They've made it all. They started from scratch and made this company exist as it does today. My questions to Dana from PVT. Here, Dana.
Dana, eu queria saber como é que foi a decisão
de escolher Vanderlei to choose Vanderlei and Chael Sonnen to be the Ultimate Fighter coaches, and what you expect of their rivalry and the Brazilian hostility towards Sonnen.
Yeah, I think that choosing them as coaches was kind of a no-brainer. They both, and when I asked Chael Sonnen to do it, he jumped at the opportunity. He wants to be a coach down here. It is definitely one of the biggest rivalries. They do not like each other. And on the flip side, I think they'll both make great coaches. I don't know how many Brazilians are going to want to be on Chael Sonnen's team, but I can tell you this, whether, you know, he's an American and all the things that he said, he'll be a great coach. He was a great coach on The Ultimate Fighter in the United States. So it should be a great show.
Aqui, Dana.
Here, Dana. Thiago Martins from 730 Radio, talking a little bit about the Ultimate Fighter. How does the UFC think about the rejection of Chael Sonnen by the fighters, by the Brazilian fighters? Might there be foreign fighters in this Ultimate Fighter Brazil 3? And the other question is about the duration of a program. The first 2 seasons, the finale was in June, and we will have a World Cup. Can the event be held together with a World Cup?
Well, I'll tell you this. We're actually, tonight, when this is over, I'm flying to Rio right after this, and we have meetings in Rio with Globo, basically working on this next season of The Ultimate Fighter. And, you know, Globo has a lot of ideas for the show. And I think this season, obviously, the Chael, Chael is going to be coaching Brazilians, yes. He will be coaching Brazilians. And I think you're going to see a lot of different things this season than you've seen in the past. So not only do we have 2 great coaches, we're going to mix things up and change it up a little bit. And I think this will probably be the best season you've ever seen.
My first question is to Dana. Here, Dana, right in front of you, below here. My first question is that you mentioned sometimes that it was being a slightly some difficulties dealing with Vitor because he was sending you text messages saying he wanted a new opponent. Are all things okay now? How's your relationship with him? And I have a question to Vitor is, you were able to get 3 knockouts with kicks this year. Would you like to ask for a song in the Fantástica program when you get free scores? I think I do deserve to be able to ask for a song, yes. But I think it's difficult to do that now. But I'd like to thank God for giving me the strength to be able to practice, to do what I do, the way I do it. I'd like to thank all my camp that are pushing me forward. So I think the song, I have to sit down with them and help them to ask me, Fernandinho faz chover.
Yeah, you know, Vitor gets crazy sometimes, you know, and he gets his head a little over the skis, and you know, so we end up, you know, butting heads a little bit here and there. But I like Vitor and I respect Vitor, and it's tough to not respect the fighter that he's become. I think he's 1,000 times the fighter he used to be, not only physically but mentally. Mentally, Vitor used to have some issues where, you know, he wasn't as confident in his abilities. He used to fight very one-dimensional. He would always use his hands and try to get that big knockout. And now you see this guy's kicking, punching. You see the way he walked into the octagon tonight? He was running into the octagon and just, I mean, the new Vitor Belfort is fucking awesome. I love it. I literally sat in my room in the back and just kept going, wow. All right, I kept saying, wow. Holy shit, wow. I mean, I couldn't believe. When he hit Dan Henderson with that uppercut, Dan Henderson came off his feet. Literally lifted him off his feet. And then with that kick, he put him again, and that was a good stoppage. I mean, Dan Henderson was done after that fight. I mean, after that kick. So, yeah, you know, I've had my moments with Vitor Belfort. Who knows? I'm probably going to have some more if I know Vitor. If I know Vitor, we're going to have some more.
Joanna doesn't let us.
But it's all good.
Fernando Boita aqui, Show Magazine.
From Show Magazine. My question's to Vitor.
Vitor, agora que passou a luta, eu gostaria de saber
now that
qual era
this fight is over, I'd like to know what was your strategy to fight against Hendo, and what was the feeling of being the first guy to knock him out in all of the MMA history?
A gente conversou bastante.
We spoke a lot with all my camp, with everyone, what I had to do. So I have the best guys, the best strikers I've had the opportunity to practice with. Today I have very high level coaches. I'm developing my leg game, my Muay Thai, K1, boxing. So I believe that for me it's a great pleasure to be able to learn. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning with Cosmo, the Muay Thai world champion, learning how to use my knees, my elbows, K1 with Henry, wrestling with Kenny, Michael Jordan of wrestling, Pedro Diaz, one of the best boxers, coaches in Cuba. So for me, it's a great privilege to be able to learn and to be the first. Obviously, it's a great feeling, but it's an idea of having fulfilled my role, my duty, and trusting what I have been doing. Valmir Silva from MMA Sul. My question is to Dana. Dana, the idea of having a show in Porto Alegre, which is one of the capitals that you still haven't gone to, and my question to Belfort, the issue of the weight in 185 or in 205, the idea of about, do you feel like continuing in the 185, or would you prefer to going to the 205 and fighting John Jones? I nearly made it to 185, and then I said, no, stop. They gave me water, they gave me food, because I'm so ready to cut weight. But I promised to Joanna, to Lorenzo, and to Dana that I wouldn't go up too much. So when I started making weight, my weight just started dropping. It dropped a lot. I had to eat more. So my class is 185. That is my class. This was a fight in a weight class above, but I'm really pleased to having made this fight.
And obviously, like you keep saying, we want to go everywhere in Brazil. I don't know what's next or when we're going to go there, but we want to go everywhere. And it's crazy in this country. I honestly believe we could go to every big and small city in Brazil and do well. We're going to take one more question. Who's got the last question?
Pro Feijão.
My question is to Feijão. Feijão, with this important victory, where do you think you are in this class? What would be your next step? You're a guy who likes to make plans, to establish your strategies, to see your path. And to Dana, with Minotauro, do you already have someone to fight Gustafsson, as there's no one to fight him?
Eu tracei minha meta para essa luta, realmente, né? Agora eu quero descansar pouco.
I'm going to get ready. My idea is to get ready for whoever UFC wants to put ahead of me. So I'm not thinking about any opponent. As Vitor mentioned, we don't have to choose any fighters. I just have to be ready. That's what I have to do, and that's what I'm a UFC employee, and whoever they choose to fight me, I'm ready.
You asked me who's fighting Gustafsson? Manoa. Manoa is going to fight Gustafsson. Yeah. Thank you all so much for your support. We appreciate you coming out tonight. Be safe. Take care.